What's up, everybody? This is Information Man Show. I know it's been a while since my last stream, but I'm back on live. I appreciate those of you that are coming in, watching the program. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to try to take my time. This won't be a long stream, but I am going to take my time with breaking a few things down. I've got some clips that I want to show you. I've got some things that's very revealing. So I don't want anybody to go away because I'm going to show you some receipts on Fat Joe. I'm going to show you some very revealing information, visual information for you to see as it relates to the podcast that he went on. I believe the Math Hoffa podcast, Math Hoffa podcast in the New York area. They staged their podcast in a barbershop, what looks to be a real barbershop. And Fat Joe was on his podcast not once, but twice. The brother put out a video. Let me put him up here. I want to appreciate everybody that's coming in here. Here's Math Hoffa right here. And like so many of these brothers in New York and brothers in the hip hop game and entertainment, they always find themselves telling all their business to the one and only, you know, the guy who's always getting the interviews where black people tell this white guy all their business. We're talking about DJ Vlad TV. We're always running our mouth. I don't understand why everybody runs their mouth to Vlad. Vlad has instigated much into the black community. He is another culture vulture. But this brother right here did put out a video in which he tried to say, hey, I'm not a big podcaster. I don't know how to deal with certain controversy like the drink champs or something of that nature. Here go him with the drink champs right there. And I'm saying to myself, everybody, how can you not know and how can you be so irresponsible to let Fat Joe go on your podcast and pepper the N-word as if it's as normal as drinking water for him, okay? And then turn around and put out a video, which I'm going to play you some clips, everybody, in which he confesses that he doesn't really know what's going on. And I'm here to tell you, everybody, this man, Math Hoffa, has way over 1 million subscribers on his platform. So he tries to make himself out to be like he's a small YouTuber or a small podcast. This man's got 1 million subscribers. And he's got tons of content that he's put out. So he actually knows what's going on. There was talk about whether he would invite Tariq Nasheed and one Lord Jamar to his podcast because he allowed Fat Joe, and let's put Fat Joe up here. He allowed Fat Joe to get on his podcast and make disparaging things about Lord Jamar. Well, at the same time, in his rebuttal statement of his video, his vertical video, he turns around everybody and says, well, shout out to brother, Lord, right? Shout out to my man, Lord from Brand Nubians. So he wants to give him respect, but at the same time, he let Fat Joe get up there, right? He let Fat Joe get up there with his fat self, everybody, and pepper the N-word and all these black, I'm about to say it my damn self, these Negroes, they all got up there, let Fat Joe say whatever he wanted to say about Lord Jamar, and they let him talk about foundational black Americans and call foundational black Americans bums, no money. They are a small group, and everybody knows that foundational black American is based on lineage. But yet they allowed him in that barbershop in New York, in the damn near people think it's a capital city, in New York City, which when you think about it, New York is really an immigrant city made up of people who have come from all over the world. And I would like to know, what is the percentage of foundational black people or ADOS black people in New York in comparison to the immigrants. Because what we are living in a world today, ladies and gentlemen, is a world that just because somebody's black or they appear to be black, they may not have the same mindset or reverence or respect for your culture as you show them. When it comes to black Americans, we respect a lot of people's cultures. I mean, you got black Americans in New York who go to the Puerto Rican parade or Puerto Rican celebration that they have all the time in New York. Okay? They have all sorts of cultural celebrations. Hell, black Americans have tried to connect ourselves to Africa with wearing the kente cloth and African garb. Hell, most black Americans, when we graduate from college, tell me I'm not telling the truth. Tell me I'm not telling the truth. Most black Americans, when we graduate from the university, what's the one thing you see people put on their robes and their caps? They put the African garb on. You got Afro beats that's popular. Who you think is supporting and going to those Afro beat concerts and events that was happening all throughout the summer, this past summer? It was black Americans that were participating. So this whole thing that black Americans or people who are foundational, ADOS, whatever we want to call it as a lineage, that we hate people that come from other parts of the world. No. We hate people who come from other parts of the world when they come here and they disrespect us, when they forget that if it was not for black Americans that are foundational, a lot of these groups wouldn't be able to come over here and flourish and benefit as they have. And that's just the truth, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Information Man Show. I may have not been on in a while, but I have not lost my abilities here. So we're going to get into it. I want to put up something very important as it relates to New York, the city of New York City. We know it has all kind of boroughs. We got Brooklyn, right? You got Long Island. You got the Bronx. You got Harlem, New York. Respect to everybody that's listening right now that is from New York, that comes from New York, that rock there. I give you respect. But at the same time, everybody, we as black Americans, foundational, ADOS, we're not going to tolerate the disrespect. And the question I want to ask everybody in the chat room that's watching this program right now, I want to ask you all, I want to definitely ask everybody, please bear with me. I want to know, how can black people in a barbershop listen to Fat Joe pepper the N-word over and over again and do not correct it? We know that black Americans, we use this term as a term of endearment, but I got a question for black Americans. We want other people to not say the word, right? We don't want people like Fat Joe sitting here with Jack Harlow, another culture vulture, white boy. They're trying to rake him as one of the top rappers. And Jack Harlow, if I'm saying his name correct, he's a culture vulture as well. Because I'm old enough at 55 years old, I'm old enough to remember a time when I was breakdancing as a youngster, that a lot of these other groups, they weren't involved in it. They thought it was weird. They were like, what are these Negroes doing dancing around on a cardboard? What are these Negroes doing the robot? What is that? We saw the robot and these type of moves when we were kids on Soul Train. And everybody, if you watch my other channel, what is it? Info Media Reacts. And I'll be booting up content over there very soon. Had to take a little bit of break because I've been rocking on my other channel, the Prime Sports Media. And unfortunately, Colorado lost yesterday. And so as I'm tapering away from the sports content on my other channel, I'm getting back over here on the saddle to what I do over here and on the Reaction channel. On that channel, I broke down who created hip hop, because Fat Joe's been running around with his fat mouth, saying that Puerto Ricans and Black Americans share in the creation of hip hop and break dancing and everything that's about the culture of hip hop culture. That's a damn lie. We're going to get that correct, because what I want to say to all of you, those of you who live in New York as well, who know the truth, and that's New York, y'all, who live in that town, who are part of that community, you know the damn truth that breakdancing, because Fat Joe's been running his mouth about it, and we're going to correct that. We're going to status correct that today again, because I showed a video on my reaction channel of black people breakdancing back in the 40s and 50s and 30s, y'all, on my reaction channel. I've got the receipts on that. You see, as all the black pioneers have told us, hip hop culture, breakdancing, rapping, all of it, it was the creation of the preteen youth that you see on that screen right there. It was the creation of the preteen youth. Everybody, do you hear me? It was the creation of the preteen black youth that you see right here on the damn screen. That you see. The creation of the preteen. We're talking about youngsters, black youngsters that were 11 and 12 years old. Thank you, official 1SP, for that super chat. For that super chat, for blessing us with that super chat. Here we go.
Thank you for the super chat.
Tell the truth.
Information is power. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel. Thank you for the super chat. Information is power. Thank you for the super chat.
Tell the truth.
All right. Thank you. Let me go in here. I want to thank those that are in here. We have Queen in here. What is FBA? Foundational Black Americans. What that is black people who lineage go back to the plantations of black people that were brought over here in chattel slavery from the continent of Africa, black people that were in these places like Mississippi, the South, black people who did the Great Migration from the South to the North, like places like New York, places like Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, all over. Black people that were here at the beginning, who built this country at its beginning foundation when America was an agricultural society in which we were the ones out there in the fields picking that cotton. Black people who created the inventions such as the stoplight, Gary Morgan, right? Black people that were here at the very foundation of the society. The people believe that the Chinese were the main ones that built the railroads. No, it was black people, black men who built the railroads. And then going towards the Western hemisphere of the country, they brought the Chinese in to help finish the rest of the railroad as black people were coming out of slavery. Remember, we were the ones doing the hard labor in this society. We built the foundation. So that is what foundational Black Americans mean. Now, ADOS is American descendants of slavery. Same people, same origins. And so therefore, when it comes to historical, so when you had black people like Dr. Martin Luther King and those who fought in civil rights, they made these streets safe for those who came over, black immigrants who came over, because prior, when all that stuff was happening with the civil rights movement, it was black foundational Black Americans who were catching the hell from this country And our ancestors were the ones who got the laws passed and struggled, which made it easier when immigrants came over. I'm talking about particularly your black immigrants who came over. It made it easier for them to transition into America because our ancestors were the ones that put in the work to fight for the benefits that they get. If it was not for the 1965 Voters' Right Act, which also made it possible for immigrants from other parts to come over and become citizens much easier. I'm not saying that people from around the world weren't in America or didn't come over here. I'm talking about being able to get citizenship and integrate. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a breakdown of what immigration means, because people keep saying that we're all immigrants. Black Americans are not immigrants, because immigration means to do what? To leave your country by your own will and come to another place to settle. We were stolen, we were robbed, we were put in shackle slavery and made to work this land, while other groups who come over, they came over with shoes on their feet, shirts on their back, and came over with the idea of having a better life. Prior to that, we were the ones taking the beatings. Our ancestors were taking the beatings, going through Jim Crow, right? Going through Reconstruction, being harassed, black men being hung throughout the South. That is part of our history, and then everything else that we've created, from inventions to the music to jazz to rock and roll, soul, everything else that we've created, our style, our lingo. Most of the slang that people copy off of they got it from us. So let's go into this a little bit deeper. We got Wallace saying, what about Marcus Garvey? Marcus Garvey came over here, told black people to leave America, yet he didn't even go to Africa himself. That's what I got to say about Marcus Garvey. How you gonna tell black people, black Americans, to leave America, which we are the foundation of, to go to a place that many of us had no familiarity with, and then yet he didn't get there himself, didn't travel there, never put his toes on the ground? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Tell the truth. Let's
get back to the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, this once again is the Information Man Show. This is how we get down over here. I'm going to just go over this real quick. Again, hip hop is the creation of the youth, black youth. Did Puerto Ricans get involved at some point in time down the line? Yes, they did. But the foundation is what you see on these pictures, like that young man right there. We're talking about preteens. And remember, I'm old enough to remember when a lot of us were breakdancing and strutting. Our parents didn't know what the hell we were doing. They thought we were doing something crazy. But this is why breakdancing and hip hop culture comes from black people, because on my other channel, I played video from those that were there. There was a dance called burning. That is where breakdancing has its origins. They would do burning, where they were already up rocking and down rocking and moving around. You had brothers in the 60s that were doing a dance called burning, which breakdancing came out of. By the time Puerto Ricans and other groups got involved in breakdancing, black people had already moved on from the breakdancing. Black youth had already grown out of it onto the next thing. And you know that when it comes to black people, we create something, we create trends, and then we go on to something else. And hip hop dance is not only break dancing, but it's other types of movement like locking, pop locking, and strutting. Now, I want to get into this right now about Fat Joe and his fat mouth. I'm going to play what needs to be played here. Remember, this is on this man's podcast, and I'm going to show you some video footage of him trying to explain himself, but explained himself falsely as they disrespected Lord Jamar. Let's get into my reaction studio right now, everybody. All right, here we go. Let's get into the first video. I want you to see how Fat Joe constantly keeps using the N-word. He somehow loves the N-word. Can't get enough of it out of his mouth. Listen to this.
You gotta hit the biggest nigga. You gotta hit the toughest guy. You gotta go for it. That's the problem. I love all my cock diesel niggas, but niggas ain't fighting you.
You hear them? Everybody in the shop is black. They laughing, they clapping, they got drinks in their hand. What the hell is this all about, y'all? Check this out.
They stabbing you 100 times.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's out here to raw figure four.
And the thing about Fat Joe, this first video I'm showing you, is that Fat Joe keeps talking about violence. He keeps trying to make himself out to be this big gangster from New York. You hear what I'm saying? He's this big gangster from New York. Fat Joe, man, I tell you.
Nigga, you cock diesel, we hitting you with the shit,
Word.
the chair, the fucking, you getting all the fucking
Even on
ketchup.
Friday,
Nigga
got hit with the brick.
Nigga, you got to.
Niggas threw a brick in his face.
Nigga, let me tell you
For
something.
that win, bro.
If I was arguing with 3 niggas
You hear that?
and there's no way out, like this is a necessary, there's nowhere to go, it's going down, I will punch the killer in his mouth faster than the other 3 niggas. So the nigga, you can't believe it. Johnny head off. Kill for, boom, nigga. Boom. Niggas are fall.
Stop. Everybody in the chat room, put 7s in the chat room if you hear what's going on here. Every word out of Fat Mouth Joe is an N-word. He gets up. He gets animated. He gets excited. And this approach and thinking and mindset. Didn't Nilly Fuller tell us about white supremacy? White supremacy is not just someone who has white skin or is a Caucasian person. White supremacy can be engaged by people of all different races. And before I end this podcast today, you'll see why people, white Latinos like Fat Joe, can say the N-word and have sustain for black people. The funny thing about it is that the individuals in this barbershop never stood up and said anything. Now, from what I understand, and I'm just keeping it real, from what I understand, Math Hoffa is his family comes from Grenada. So he has lineage, as he said, there. He said he lived there since the time he was 9 till he was 14, although he was born in New York. And he doesn't seem to, he said he never knew what FBA was. And this is the disconnect. A lot of these other groups do not understand our culture as they want us to understand theirs. And the fact that they could sit up there and laugh with Fat Joe tells you that they have no respect for us. Those that are in this barbershop who may not be of our lineage have no more respect for us than Fat Joe, and they have no respect for themselves as Fat Joe peppers the N-word. And then my question again is, we don't like Fat Joe using the N-word, but my challenge to black people listening on this podcast tonight, why is it that we keep using the N-word ourselves? Now, I know, term of endearment, but you know, the last time I checked, you don't see other ethnic groups using racial slurs that were racial slurs towards them and use them as term of endearment. Why can't we as black people get out of the psychological conditioning of that word to stop saying the word? Because I don't care. I don't like the word in general. And I wish we would get out of saying the word, but I understand why people use the word as a term of endearment within our culture. But Fat Joe does not have a license to use it, and he is blatant with it.
Like, oh my God, he punched Johnny? This nigga's all the way crazy.
Because he the backbone.
Nigga.
He the backbone.
Like,
he the reason they hit.
That's streets 101 right
It really
there.
And you see how they're laughing and they joining in Fat Joe's foolishness
Tell the truth.
as he's trying to sound like he so gangster.
Don't work for you when you're the toughest nigga.
He says, when you're the toughest ninja. Listen how he talks. They work for you when you're the toughest ninja. No black man in this shop. I don't know whether they were foundational themselves, whether they're from Jamaica, Africa, because we know that New York, let's just keep it real. We know that New York is one big giant immigrant city. But nobody stopped him in the disrespect, in his lingo. They got too caught up in his celebrity and his storytelling, his fat oral tradition.
They got to take you out.
Right.
And
They're not coming fair.
I got shot by the biggest coward. When I got
Once again, his whole conversation is about all this garbage. I got
shot, the guy who shot me is pussy. I'm not saying it because he shot me. If he was a real nigga, I'd have told you, yo, that nigga.
Here we go with the N-word, as Fat Joe loves that N-word. They set up here and let this white Puerto Rican who has Spanish heritage, they let him set up. And his real name is Joseph. They let Joseph, everybody, set up here and carry on in these ninjas, for lack of a better word. Y'all know what I mean. They celebrate with him. They laugh with him. They laugh. They clap. They do all this sort of stuff. They laugh with him. They clap with him. They do all these different things, these ninjas in this barber shop. I'm telling you right now, there's already been a word out that Math Hoffa is taking a lot of heat for this. People are saying he should be canceled too. Fat Joe, obviously, the fat mouth Joe should be canceled. Black people, and if it wasn't, wait till I get to the other stuff of my presentation today. Wait till I get to the rest of the other stuff. Here we go.
It was crazy. That nigga, he's pussy.
Right.
Jonathan
I
Kidd,
was
thank you
picking
for
on
being
him
here.
so much.
Let me do this right here. Let me give some respect where respect is due. We've got Jonathan Kidd in the house here. Anthony Walls is in the house here. Jill Scott, a.k.a. Super Earth, is in the house. PJ Allen is in the house. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell of notification. We've got a lot of great people in here. Jonathan Kidd, Maurice Delt. What's up, my man? We got Jackie Cheeks in the house. Anthony Walls, as I said before. Good to have you guys over here. Copper, Aborigines, and we got Wallace, Hustle Man is in the house, and appreciate all y'all. Next year, I'll only listen to Tether. So I really appreciate you all coming over. I give you a clap. Don't go nowhere. Wait till you see the rest of the clip. I got some clips for y'all today. Don't you take yourself nowhere. And for those of you that are already here, do me the favor. Take your hands, hit the share button, and share it in your X, your Facebook. Share it with whoever you want to share it with. Share the video out. Get more folks over here because I've got good stuff for you. And Fat Joe has to be, as said on my thumbnail, he's got to be canceled. Let's hear some more of this nonsense.
Bullying the guy that one day the nigga thought, and it was no beef.
Ooh, there he go again. Well, he says one day the ninja. Woo, man. You know he been saying this. He been talking like this for a long time. He loves it. It comes out of his mouth like water flows from a faucet. But check this out. When y'all find out the other things that he be saying about black folks, and I got the receipts. Fat Joe's got to be canceled.
The guy owed me $10. I kept fucking with him. Yo, where's my $10? I got $30,000.
Now look what he does here.
I've been walking like
boom. He takes out a wad of money. Now, who walks around, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care how rich you are. This is what you call ghetto fabulous right now. Here he is pulling out a wad of money because he's telling a story about somebody who said he owed them $10. Well, Fat Joe, if you got a wad of money in your pocket, give me $10. I mean, damn, is that what he said? Let's double check. Let's double back that again.
Shot me's pussy. I'm not saying it because he shot me. If he was a real nigga, I'd have told you. I was picking on him so much, bullying the guy, that one day the nigga thought, and it was no beef.
You hear him go? He was bullying a guy, and here we go.
The guy owed me $10.
Boom! The guy owed him $10. Like I said, okay, so the guy owed him $10, and then he wants to show off for y'all that he got this wad of money. And my question is again, who is running around with a wad of money in their pocket like that? Thank you, Jonathan Kidd. He says, boycott Sloppy Joe. Yeah, Sloppy Joe, Sleepy Joe, Fat Joe. Yeah, I say the same thing, brother. I say the same thing. Thank you for that super chat.
Baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'm Nick McGrady.
All right. Thank you for that super chat, brother. He says $5 super chat from Jonathan Kidd, boycott Sloppy Joe, and Math Huff. Right. It's a damn shame what they're doing, but I'm playing this video first, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm going to get to the video where he said greasy things about FBA. But I want to just put everything in context because he went on this podcast, was talking greasy, using the N-word left and right. Nobody corrected him, then came back to Huff's podcast and did some more greasy talking, and nobody corrected him. What's going on out there in New York? Y'all tell me what's going on when y'all can let a non-black person, a Puerto Rican, who would not be where he is in his career if it was not for black people, particularly foundational black people who put his ass on, who brought his music, supported his music, and Big Pun was a better rapper than Fat Joe can ever dream of, but nobody did anything to shut his mouth up. Let's continue here.
I kept fucking with him. Yo, with my $10, I got 30,000. I've been walking like this since I'm 14.
Now, look at him trying to clout chase here. He tells everybody that he's been walking like that since he was 14 with a wad of money. So does that mean that Fat Joe, because where would you get that kind of money at legally unless you're selling drugs and narcotics? So was Fat Joe a drug dealer at one point in time? Is that what he's trying to say? I've been walking around with a wad of money since I was 14. Ladies and gentlemen, what 14-year-old has a wad of money in their pocket that they've gotten legitimately? I'm just waiting.
Tell the truth.
If you guys agree with my premise here, put sevens in the chat room. He puts out a wad of money. He's trying to clout chase for y'all.
Nigga.
There he go. There he go with that N-word again. Loves the N-word and keeps rocking with the N-word. And none of these ninjas in the shop tell him, hey, man, chill with that N-word that you keep saying. That means that this is the way Fat Joe has been talking for a long time. And it tells me he's been talking like this around other black folks for a very long time.
Nobody goes, no nothing. What are you guys talking about?
Right.
Every day of my life.
The Remy told us, Joe.
And look how they clap in celebration. And there go Math Huff right there with his hands over his head because he's laughing like this in celebration. And they're clapping in celebration like that, right? What is going on in the state of New York? What has happened to black people in New York that would allow this to happen? I grew up at a time in these guys like to brag about the 90s. Hell, I grew up through the 80s and late 70s, and you could never talk like that around black folks as a non-black person and get away with it without somebody pulling your shirt. What's going on? Here's some more of this nonsense before we get to the next video.
She told us.
Look how Huff is smiling. He's buck dancing. He's cheesing with the teeth.
Joking rich, bro.
And they're laughing. What kind of black men is this in a shop? What kind of black men are in this shop? Where did they get these black men in this shop? Where do they come from? Continue.
Right.
So I got 30,000. I'm picking on a nigga. You owe me 10 now.
I'm picking on the ninja, as he says. He owes me 10 now. This is what Fat Joe, he's talking about another, believe me, Fat Joe is talking about another black person here. He's talking about another black person.
Right.
One day I turn the corner.
This is why we can't get nowhere. We're not on code. He's talking about another black person in a demeaning way, and these ninjas in this barber shop. I don't know what barbershop y'all go to, but no barbershop that I go to would let somebody come in and talk like this without G checking them.
Tell the truth.
Let's continue.
On up, I had 100 niggas with me. There's another.
Woo! Fat Joe says he had 100 ninjas with him. Listen to how he talks. I had 100 ninjas with me, he says. Y'all know what I'm saying. Fat Joe. Talking like he's a big-time gangster. I had 100 ninjas with me, he said. Listen to this again.
I gotta have it.
Right.
So I got 30,000. I'm picking on a nigga. You owe me $10.
Right.
One day I turned the corner. I had 100 niggas with me. This is another gem. This is the biggest gem. For all you mobbing niggas and you got 100 niggas, when you go outside to piss, you by yourself.
Facts.
You could have 10,000 niggas with guns inside this barbershop. You go outside to piss, you by yourself.
You see everything that Fat Joe, Sleepy Joe, Fat Joe is saying is degenerate. It's negative. It's all negative talk. You know, when black people talk like this, we get stereotyped. We're told that that it's bad for everybody, right? When black people talk like this, right? When black people don't even talk like this, we are stereotyped by black people who talk like what Fat Joe is saying right now. We get stereotyped for those of us who don't talk like this. But Fat Joe can get away with saying it. And this is Fat Joe, who your BET Music Award, which ain't black no more, invited this fool to host the Hip Hop Awards and various other awards. Fat Joe has to be canceled. And I'm going to tell you another reason why Fat Joe is not happy. Because if you guys don't know this, Fat Joe came out with an album, y'all. He has a brand new album out. Guess what? The album is doing terrible. It's flopping. It's not doing well because foundational black people are not supporting Fat Joe like we did before. And I think Fat Joe is projecting some of his anger towards those of us who are not supporting the terrible music that he has just released that nobody gives a damn about. Mr. Fat Joe, Fat Mouth, you know what I mean? Let's play some more of this and get to the other video.
And it seems like that's when they
They
you.
Yep.
I turned the corner, niggas with range. I don't want to tell you the whole shit because it's in a book and all that. But I never, the nigga had a gun. I didn't think he would shoot. I'm like, you pussy nigga, suck my dick. I hit him in the face with a bottle.
Tell the truth.
Wow.
So you hear what Fat Joe. So you guys have got it now. Fat Joe loves the N-word. Everything that comes out of his mouth is the N-word, left and right. And nobody in the barbershop G checks him on this. And then this man right here, Math Hoffa, is wondering why people is calling him out, why people are saying cancel the damn podcast. We don't want no more of it. He's wondering why he sat up there and you saw with your own eyes that he sat up there, giggled and laughed, shits and giggles, why this guy is up here saying all type of reckless type of shit.
Gun at me, nigga. Yo,
Like that. You see right there what he just did? This is Fat Joe, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Fat Joe is about. Get the likes up. Hit the likes, everybody, if you like the content so far. I appreciate you all coming in. I got more for you. Don't go anywhere. We got Sugar Love says, please watch the mouth in the chat. Everybody be respectful in the chat room. I don't get down like that over here. Be respectful in the chat room to each other. Everybody has the right to express themselves in the chat room. Just don't get all rude and personal because I don't want the mods to have to get you out of here. Just be respectful. I understand the passion of the subject matter that we're talking about today. Everybody's been talking about this. I'm talking about it now, but I'm not finished, everybody. Don't go nowhere because here we go with the next one. Here is what everybody is talking about Fat Joe in his fat mouth. Check it out. Here we go. This is how it all started, everybody. Let's go with the first introduction of it. Here we go.
and the shit just go. You believe Fat Joe said hip hop was Puerto Rican and black?
Boom. I want to stop right there. hip hop was not created by Puerto Rican and black. It was created by black youth. As I said in the beginning of my podcast, black youth in the city or in the state of New York created it. It was black teens, preteens. And what happened is that it was the adults who stole the music in the style from what they saw the preteens doing. This is the truth, y'all. It was stolen by black youngsters like this. It was because remember back in the 70s, disco music was king and hip hop was just in its baby stages. And then eventually, once hip hop took over and took off, it took off because the adults stole the culture, stole the music, like the culture vulture himself, Fat Joe. Black people put him on, and then he wants to get greasy about black Americans who were the ones that put him on in the first place. Damn it. It was black Americans that supported him in these places in New York like you see here, before anybody knew who the hell he was. Let's continue. And look again, you see how he laughs. I want y'all to see him laughing. Watch this again. Right there. That's Huff. That's Math Hoffa, who now is acting like he don't know what went wrong. He puts out a video, and I'm going to show you clips from that video talking about he says, when we all dial it back, we're all immigrants. That's a lie, Math. Not all of us are immigrants. He gets on there trying to say how he wants to work with everybody. But you sit up there and you let him laugh. If you want to work with everybody, Math Hoffa, then you wouldn't let him get in there and disrespect foundational black Americans. You would not let him get in there and disrespect Lord Jamar. And then turn around on your rebuttal or your apology video or your rebuttal video or your addressing video and say how much you got respect for Lord, but yet you let this man disrespect Lord. You see right here from Brand Nubians. And then say how you want to work with people and that we shouldn't divide ourselves, but you let Fat Joe come into your shop and create division.
My God, the world changed on me, nigga. I'm like, yo.
No, you know what?
There he goes with that word. Loves the N-word.
Where you been?
Let's get into that. Because I think people outside of New York, it's hard for them to understand, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Trinidadians, Jamaicans, Guyanese.
First of all, let's start by this. Let's start by this.
Around each other.
Let's start by this.
See, Math Hoffa says that he believes that people outside of New York don't understand all the different Caribbean and groups that are in New York. So he was coming with maybe they don't understand, but then he let Fat Joe say, nah, these is black racists. Black people cannot be racist because we can be prejudiced, but racism is about power and control. Racism, if you look up the real definition of it, is about power and control. If black people were racist in this world, that means we would have the ability to keep immigrants and any other group out of jobs, out of housing, out of education, out of everything. All the, as Nilly Fuller Jr. spoke of, all the activities of life. Black people don't have any power to keep anybody out of housing, out of jobs. Look, when most immigrants and other people come to this country, what neighborhoods do they usually end up living in? They end up being in black American neighborhoods. You saw what's happening in Chicago with the migrants or the illegals, because a migrant is not an illegal person. We're going to get these definitions right today. You saw how black people were being put upon in Chicago and New York, and you got 53% homelessness of black men in New York, but the migrants or the illegals are getting jobs and getting shelter and every damn thing. And if black people were racist, we would have the power to say, you can't be here and you be gone. No, what black people do is we protest it, we talk about it, but we don't have the power to remove these people because racism, white supremacy equals power, economic power, social power, institutional power.
Tell the truth.
Watch Fat Joe with his nonsense.
These rumors were made by radical black racists.
Woo! Fat Joe says radical black race. I've never heard that in my life. Radical black race. Now I gotta laugh at that one. Woo! Radical black races. That's what Fat Joe said, y'all. The man is out of his mind. Continue.
Let's just say that.
No. We don't. No.
It's a group of these guys.
It's a group of these guys.
Don't want to hear Jamaican. Don't want to hear Guyanese. Don't want to hear. They don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them.
Right.
Right. So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't black American.
All right, y'all. You hear what he said? You hear the premise of what Fat Joe is saying. Did y'all hear the premise of it? Do y'all hear that premise, ladies and gentlemen? He says that people that are foundational black American don't like people who don't look like them and don't rock with them. No, people that are foundational black American are people that consider themselves ADOS. We don't like other groups who come over here and they're disrespectful to us. And when they're disrespectful to us, then we have to remind them whose damn country they're in and how they got here and how they were able to get here if it was not for the hard work of the black American, right? We are tired of other groups who have these disrespectful names for us, such as in Nigeria, they have that term called akata, where they will call black people akata. I may not be saying it correct, but y'all know what I'm talking about, right? They have these terms. Now, I know back in the day when you had African immigrants that came to America, that there were some black Americans that would make fun of them and call them African booty snatchers and would laugh at them. And I understand how that happened because it was those Tarzan movies which depicted African people in a negative way. And once those of us were educated and we realized that the Tarzan movies gave a misportrayal of African people, as you grow older and you mature, you realize that's a negative thing to say. I don't go around calling African brothers and sisters, I don't go around saying to them, oh, you're an African booty snatcher. I don't do that because I know that that's inappropriate. And furthermore, that if you were to go to their country, there's no way in hell if I was to go to another country, whether it be Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, any of these countries, Puerto Rico, I would not go to those countries and disrespect their traditions and disrespect the people and what have you. I would be humble when engaging with them. Fat Joe is on here peppering the N-word, and let's get back to it again with some more video context. Now, check this out. That was just the beginning. Here is where it gets real nasty with Fat Joe. Check this out.
What's clout?
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the fuck these broke niggas is.
You see, once again, Fat Joe goes with whoever these broke ninjas are. Now, you understand that he values himself based on how much money he has. Remember the video where he pulled out that wad of money and claimed that he had been having wads of money in his pocket since he was 14 years old, and that he got into some type of verbal spout with someone who owed him $10. And then the question you got to ask is, if he's got a wad of money in his pocket, why is he concerned about $10? But he's telling this story to make himself look big and bad. And then he disrespects FBA, saying that, well, FBA people are broke because Fat Mouth Joe thinks that he is somebody because he's got a wad of money in his pocket, that money that he has makes him better than people that are foundational black American. You see what he's doing? This is nothing but a projection of white supremacy coming from a white Puerto Rican. And when I read off some data to you about how white Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, where Fat Joe comes from. Oh, yeah, I've got it. This is the Information Man Show, where you're going to learn something as well as be entertained. Fat Joe comes from Puerto Rico. Did you guys know in Puerto Rico, they do everything they can to maintain white skin and white dominance in the way they treat black Puerto Ricans? Ooh, wait till I get to that part. Let's hear some more of Fat Mouth Joe.
I'm just keeping it a buck. And that shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see this nigga who run them? Like, you know, your leader? Yo, man.
Now he's talking about Tariq Nasheed. And I said this before on my reaction channel. I think for myself, I don't allow myself to be led by anybody. I don't care who they are. But that's disrespectful because he doesn't know Tariq Nasheed personally. Never met him. But he is calling him out in a disrespectful way while peppering the N-word. And here you have black men in this barbershop watching Fat Joe talk greasy about black people and another black man. While Math Hoffa tells you on his address video that he did that he's about unity and bringing people together. If he was about unity and bringing people together, he would have told Fat Joe, let's not go there, brother. He would have said, Fat Joe, let's not go there. Let me put something in the chat room real quick. I got a super chat from someone, and I want to acknowledge the super chat. I appreciate the super chat. TD gave me a super chat, $1.99 from TD. Fat Joe got paid good money to label FBA as radical. Right. This is all a part of the manipulation. Yeah, because he's a celebrity. He's become a celebrity rapper right now, right? Even though he ain't put out no good music and God knows how long. He's a celebrity rapper. I'm going to tell you, everybody, beware of the rappers that the mainstream media gravitates towards. I'm going to say it again. Beware of these entertainers like Fat Joe, who they try to make a spokesperson as if he's a spokesperson for the culture when he's not. Beware of that. I want to thank you again for that super chat and what have you. Let me just bust it down a little bit of this right now.
Thank you for the super chat.
All right, Earl Owens, I see you in the house. One of my mods is coming in the house. Alicia, I see you in there too. I know you've been in there. Thank you for coming over. But listen to Fat. This is the thing that bothers me, everybody. That's most important. That nobody in the shop G-checked him. Nobody in the shop told him, let's not go there, Fat Joe. Fat Mouth Joe.
And you got to be fucking kidding me, man. And so they're trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
You dummy. This is why he's a dummy. This is why Fat Joe is a dummy. He says that people that are FBA are not from New York. Are you a dummy? Foundational Black Americans was here before you. We were in New York. Matter of fact, how many of y'all, by putting sevens in the chat room, remember that they were building a skyscraper in New York where they found a burial ground of our ancestors in New York that were there, that have been buried there, people that were brought over, our ancestors. There was a burial ground. How many of you remember that in New York? The burial ground situation. Please, just like my man Cat Williams say, this has been the year of the exposure.
What you get? I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever.
Did you hear what he said? Same thing goes for Fat Joe. You're being exposed, Fat Joe. Black people that are foundational to America have lived in New York before you got there, Fat Joe. He sat up there and said, oh, these people not foundational black Americans are from all corners of the country, you fool. The South, the North. Where do you think that the Great Migration came from? You didn't get black people before the immigrants got to New York. The majority of the black folks that got there came from the South. It's called the Great Migration, where black people moved from the Mississippis, moved from the damn Georgias and the Alabamas, and migrated to the places like Detroit, Chicago, New York. How you think black folks got there before your ass got there? And if you go back hundreds of years, when they were building stuff in New York, like skyscrapers, they found burial grounds of some of our ancestors that were in burial grounds on the land in New York before New York was called New York, because it used to be called New Neverlands. Before they even came up with the name New York, or before the Statue of, hell, how many of y'all know about the history behind the Statue of Liberty? That Statue of Liberty is supposed to be a statue of a black woman breaking the chains of slavery and oppression that was supposed to be hanging in that harbor. That statue is supposed to be about the emancipation of black Americans. It wasn't supposed to be about immigrants coming over, but the United States government rejected it when that Frenchman designed it. It was of a design of a black woman breaking the chains of oppression and slavery. It was supposed to be a gift for America righting some kind of wrong towards us. How many of y'all in the chat room know that history about that Statue of Liberty that you're looking at right now? Fat Joe don't know nothing about that. How dare he say that black people, foundational black Americans, are not from New York, you fool?
So they telling a whole nother story. This was whoopity doop wop. Yo, bro. Far as I know, we're at Yankee Stadium right now, and it's hip hop's 50th birthday. And the guy who invented it, Grandmaster Flash, my brother carried his crates. My babysitters.
That don't mean that just because you carry somebody's records and crates don't mean you created hip hop. Fat Joe.
Made up the, let me hear you say, ho. It's two girls, twins, used to babysit me. They made up, let me hear you say, ho.
Okay, they babysitted you, but doesn't mean you created hip hop. See, what Fat Joe is trying to show you is that he's in close proximity to the hip hop culture, because as he was a little kid, he was being babysitted by some black women. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this again. Fat Joe came up off of black people putting him on. Prior to that, nobody knew who Fat Joe was. Nobody knew who he was. That's how he got his fame, or his name of claim, or fame, or whatever we call it. Let's continue.
So they have a big problem, these guys, right?
These guys, here we go. These guys.
With them. So this ain't a popular message. This ain't what everybody's saying. We might be giving them too much light right here is what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
So it's a small.
And then did you hear, as Fat Joe says, we might be giving them too much clout or light. Then you have Math Hoffa who says right. See? Math Hoffa, who went on his channel and tried to act like he's all about peace and working together, but he's agreeing with Fat Joe right there. You all heard it for yourself.
Minority to get on them Twitters and they running it up. We got a fucking Looney Tune, like your man Lord Jamar, who's a fucking Looney Tune. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's a loony bin.
You notice right? They're laughing. Now you notice nobody in the barber shop, as he's talking about another black man again, nobody in the barber shop corrects him and says, don't be disrespectful. But then Huff gets on his channel to address the issue and says that he has so much respect, or he says, shout out to Lord Jamar. But yet, if you got so much respect for my man from the Brand Nubians, Lord, if you got so much respect for him, you would have never let this man right here, Fat Joe, get on your podcast and talk down on him. You would have never done that, Math Huff. This is why you should be canceled too. Let's continue.
We just said that the drug of choice is attention. It's this and this and that. They get a guy who he was a legend. He's brand Nubian.
Right.
And he's the wackest nigga in the crew.
There he goes with the N-word. Again, nobody corrects him.
He was a legend. He's brand Nubian.
Right.
And he's the wackest nigga in the crew. Be clear.
You see how everybody is laughing? And most of the people in the shop, no, all the people in the shop are black men. They're laughing while this white Puerto Rican who has racial tendencies, and I'm going to show you the video that proves it, has racial tendencies, loves the N-word, but he doesn't really like black people. And I believe that he's angry that we didn't buy his new album that's flopping as I speak. You see how he talks about Lord Jamar. And then Huff and his people in the shop, all those ninjas in the shop, they start laughing and giggling at least a little bit under their voices. Like this.
We just said that the drug of choice is attention. It's this and this and that. They get a guy who he was a legend. He's brand Nubian.
Right.
And he's the wackest nigga in the crew. Be
See?
clear.
That word again.
But now, this nigga...
See? They're laughing, y'all. Do y'all hear it? Put the sevens in the chat room if y'all hear it. Share this video and get the likes up so that this video can be shared through the algorithms of the YouTube. Woo! Through the YouTube streets, y'all. Come on now. Through these YouTube streets.
Tell the truth.
Woo! Fat Joe has to be canceled, must be canceled. Anybody, I'm saying to you right now, don't you dare buy a ticket to see this man anywhere he performs, if he even performs. Don't give him no clout. Because according to him, he's got a wad of money in his pocket. Okay? According to him, Fat Joe's got a wad of money in his pocket that he's had since the time he was 14 years old. What do you know, y'all? He's had a wad of money, like you see right there, all that change. Guess what, y'all? Since he's got a wad of money all the time, don't y'all give him a dime. Don't y'all give him $5, $10, $20, $100. Don't y'all give him a penny, a change of any damn support. Do you hear me?
Information is power.
Here we go.
Might be like trying to get lit, trying to say anything. The world's flat, the this, that, anything to go viral. I just told you I stopped my shit because I go too viral. I'm scared. I'm too viral.
Right.
He said he's scared that he's too viral. And you listen to this nonsense.
We in the information era, and some people just they see so many paths, they decide to pick one, and some of them.
But you notice he's trying to rationalize what Fat Joe is saying. Never tells Fat Joe, hey, maybe you should not go after Lord Jamar like that. We got respect for him in his shop. Maybe you should not keep saying that N-word. We don't feel comfortable with that. You're not, we use it as a term of endearment, but you saying the N-word out of anger. You can tell that Fat Joe is very, very angry. And he's particularly angry at black people, particularly foundational black people who have basically rejected him. And when you are rejected, sometimes people, I work in mental health, sometimes people will lash out when they feel rejected. That's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Let's continue.
Made the most popular one. So, they just.
But what I'm trying to tell you.
Before I go on, let me thank all of you in the chat room, all 572 of you that's here today. Thank you for watching. Make sure you share the video. The mods do a good job in there. You're doing a great job. We got Sugar Love. We got Jonathan Kidd. We got a lot of great people in the chat room rocking with us. Earl Owens, thank you all. We got You God. We got Soundwave, right? We got Gardner. We got A Capone 115. Jill Scott, a.k.a. Supreme Earth. That's a pretty interesting name. North Dam, right? Dan in the house, right? Milituve in the house. Ito Fat Joe is the best. Nah, Fat Joe ain't the best. Peggy Roster's coming in pretty strong. Just B is in the house. TD put 777s in there. I appreciate that. Clap to all of you. Nah, Fat Joe ain't the best. Fat Joe is just, he's just trying to use the celebrity status that the mainstream media has now put on him because they keep running to him as if he's a spokesperson for hip hop culture when he ain't. And Fat Joe would not be where he is if it was not for black American people. We are the ones who put this monster where he is today. And we got 78 vet. What's going on, Sister 78? Saying salute. I appreciate you being here. We got Destiny 905 says, why does all his government documents say white if he says he's Puerto Rican? Exactly. His real name is Joseph. I had the other name, but his first name is Joseph. And I'm gonna put some data up for y'all in a minute. A lot of these folks will identify themselves as white. Okay? Like Fat Joe. Let's continue.
This opinion comes from a tribe.
Right.
It comes from a group of people that hate everybody but them.
Okay. Foundational Black Americans do not hate everybody. Most of this is about people who hate on Black Americans. And now that Black Americans have decided to delineate ourselves like everybody else has delineated themselves from us, when we delineate ourselves and define our culture and take ownership in what we do, now all these other groups who have delineated themselves from us for years and decades, in places like New York, in the Chicagos of the world, all over the damn place, now that Black Americans stand up and say, we're going to delineate ourselves too, based on our culture and lineage, now everybody's got a problem. And when they come at us real sleazy, we're going to respond. It's just that simple. Fat mouth Joe.
You know, there's radical Jews, there's radical Catholics, there's radical.
See, he keeps, you know what's funny about Fat Joe? It's not really funny, y'all, is that he's using that word radical. Remember a couple of years ago when Trump first got in office and he had, who was that guy who was his attorney general? And they tried to pass a law to go after what they called were black radical groups, right? It was called black extremists. This is dangerous what Fat Joe is doing by labeling it radical, because the government was already trying to go after black people who were trying to fight for freedom and justice, and they label them as radical. Even Dr. King was labeled as a radical, right? Malcolm X was labeled as a radical, wasn't he so? All black leaders. And I know that Malcolm X has lineage as well with the Caribbean, his mother. But isn't this what they did with all black people who stood up for justice, freedom, and equality? They would label you a radical. The Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland, where I lived, and the Black Panthers were called radical because they had guns. And guess what? In California at that time, it was legal to walk with a gun out long as you didn't have bullets in a chamber. But as soon as black people do something to stand up, we are labeled radical. This is a psychology, everybody. Fat Joe is using the same psychology to demonize and label black Americans by putting the word radical out there. Very dangerous. Very dangerous, Fat Joe. Very, very dangerous.
Tell the truth.
He might as well be working as an informant for the FBI.
What I'm trying to tell you is that this opinion comes from a tribe.
Right.
It comes from a group of people that hate everybody but them. You know, there's radical
Here we go.
Jews, there's radical Catholics, there's radical Puerto Ricans.
Right.
There's radical anything. If you do enough of that shit, enough of in-house racism, you want.
He calls it in-house racism. And I said before that racism equals power. It's about power and control. Black people have no power and no control, black Americans, to institutionally impact these other groups. We might have the ability to say, hey, I don't like this group or I don't like this person or whatever. That's as far as it goes. We don't have the ability to say, you know what, let's keep them out of housing. Let's make sure that they can't live in our neighborhoods. That's what white people did to black Americans before a lot of these folks got over here. They could keep us out of housing. Y'all all saw the movie Raisin in the Sun when the brother wanted to move into a particular white neighborhood and the white people were trying to get him out of the neighborhood from redlining us. We went through redlining, Jim Crow, segregation. Some would say that we should have stayed segregated because black people were better off when we had our own. Fat Joe, man, a fat mouth.
Up looking at the world fucked up, and you can't even move around.
Right.
You understand? So that's how this shit come about. These guys don't like nobody but them. So they fuck that. This guy, well, how could he say this? How could he? Bro, have you been to my hood? Do you know where I'm from?
So here we go with the have you been to my hood? Do you know where I'm from? So he feels that saying that he comes from the hood and he comes from a rough neighborhood, that somehow validates him to be able to talk shit about other black people, use the N-word, and that it validates him to get to certain respect that we should be giving him.
You know, we did my brother's funerals. More black people than Spanish people at the funeral sitting next to my mother. Do you know where the fuck?
Yeah, but even though Fat Joe will tell you that he had black people at his brother's funeral, even though Fat Joe will tell you this, right? Even though Fat Joe will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, what he fails to not tell you is that when he's hanging out with his people, he's talking about us in cheesy ways and using the N-word, and we're going to show the receipts on that tonight, you see. See, he fails to tell you about that little piece of information that I'm laying on you that I'm pretty sure some of you have already heard about through other videos. I think Tariq Nasheed exposed it on his channel, but I'm going to expose it here too. So don't get caught up in Fat Joe talking about how he was around black people, that he lived in a hood, that he had black people that came to his brother's funeral. It's what he says about black people when he's around his own, and we're going to expose that tonight as well. But he talked a lot of stuff about Lord Jamar, right? He talked a lot of crap about Lord Jamar, and Lord Jamar had to clap back on him, right? He had to clap back, and I'm gonna let y'all see what that clap back was all about, y'all. Let's hear it right now. Check it out. Here go Lord Jamar on the Art of Dialogue. Here we go, and shout out to Art of the Dialogue. Check it out.
It's kind of crazy because FBA is the one that put him where he is today.
Right.
So you have to understand that it wasn't the Puerto Rican community or any other community that embraced Fat Joe. Fat Joe came up in DITC, which consists of mainly foundational Black Americans, and he was the only Puerto Rican member in the group. So it's kind of ironic for him to attack foundational Black Americans with his rhetoric. He sat there, and as a white Puerto Rican, he sat there and used the word nigga more than niggas used the word nigga. In a room full of niggas.
Tell the truth.
And not a nigga said nothing.
You hear what he's saying? Wait a minute now.
They just
Wait
let
a
him
minute.
nip it up.
Wait a minute. Lord Jamal say that he used the N-word more than ninjas, and not a ninja in the damn barbershop, tell the truth,
Tell the truth.
said anything about how Fat Joe was ninjaing it up. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Crazy, crazy. What's wrong with those black men that was in Math Hoff's podcast in that barbershop? What's wrong with those black men? What type of black men are they that would allow that to happen, Brother Earl Owens? Jay Shine, what's going on? Thoughts and rant. Jay Shine, what's going on, brother? I got to give you a clap. Jay Shine is a producer. He's a supporter financially of this channel. So I must give him much props and respect. Jay Shine, thoughts, Random is in the house, y'all. Give him some love. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to what he's saying. Let's go ahead, Lord. Let's tell it like it is.
And Math Hoffa and them is getting a little heat for that right
Math
now, too.
Hoffa, and he should.
But I think it was uncalled for. First of all, it needs to be said that foundational Black Americans are not the foundational Black authority, as he said, is not an organization. It's a lineage. Either you're part of it or you're not, by lineage, okay? How your ancestry, where your ancestry takes you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's about 48 million people that would be considered foundational Black Americans, and he's disrespecting all of them. There is no...
Right, because remember, Fat Joe said it's just a little small group on Twitter. That's what Fat Joe said. And then he said that these are people that are not from New York. And if it's foundational, fool, because he don't know no history, we were here before you. And Black Americans, or foundational Black Americans, or ADOS, as some would call it, we were in New York. Our ancestors was there way before you, building the place. How do you think New York got built up? Everybody, have you ever thought about this? How did those skyscrapers, or how did the early beginning of the port areas of New York get? It was off the transatlantic slave trade, because they were doing what? Importing Black people in shackle slavery. This is how businesses got created. Title companies got created because they were making clothes and food and molasses and all sorts of stuff for the slaves when they came over, because it became an economic business that was fueled by those ancestors of ours that came over, who laid the foundation. Not people who came over because they woke up one day and said, I don't like my country, so I want to go to America. Put on my shoes, put on my bag. Let me go to America and petition for citizenship. That's an immigrant. That's not Black Americans that are foundational.
Leader to foundational Black Americans. Tariq Nasheed is not the leader of foundational Black Americans. It has no leader. Again, it's a lineage. There is no organization called foundational Black Americans. It's just what you are. So those are just to erase some falsities right there. It's not about being Black radicals or not liking people that don't look like them, or, you know, who are not American. It's about honoring and preserving.
Share the video, everybody. Share the video.
That foundational Black Americans have done. And many times people come in on the backs of what we have done as far as the civil rights struggle. These people flee their countries and then come here on the backs of what we do, but with a subconscious disdain for us.
Now, Lord Jamar is expressing this very well. He's giving you full context as to where the disconnect starts, where the disrespect begins to grow its vines. He's giving the full context.
And some of them, not all of them, but some of them will work.
This is key. He said some, but not all. Very key.
To undermine us. And those are the ones we call tethers.
Okay.
Okay. And so when somebody who has benefited from the foundational Black American community, as far as your whole lifestyle comes from us, like you're famous because we gave you the thumbs up. I've said this before, Black people decide who sits at the cool table. And if we didn't want Fat Joe to sit at the cool table back then, he wouldn't have sat there. It wouldn't have mattered how much money you got and all of that.
This is very key, because you all witnessed, as I showed tonight on that video where Fat Joe took the wad of money out that he was bragging about. And here we have Lord Jamar saying that it ain't about how much money you got. It's about character. It's about who co-signs you. It's about the fact that Black Americans, Black foundational Americans, or ADOS, they actually did embrace Fat Joe. So this whole idea that people, that Black Americans who have lineage here, that we're racist towards people of other ethnic groups is a lie. If that was the case, how could Fat Joe have a wad of money in his pocket that he could brag about, that he pulled out in that barbershop? How could Fat Joe become a well-known rapper if we weren't buying his music and supporting him and going to the concerts, and those Black folks around him in the music industry that were Black put him on? And Lord Jamar also said that Fat Joe don't even know that Lord Jamar indirectly was involved with helping Fat Pun get on and help him with his deal. And he said that Fat Pun was the one who wrote most of Fat Joe's lyrics for his songs, that Fat Joe don't really write that well. But this is key. This man right here you seen that's talking, that's on the screen right here, said that Fat Joe don't even know that he assisted Fat Pun. Or Big Pun. Let me correct what I'm saying. Not Fat Pun. I'm getting him mixed up with Fat Joe now. This is crazy. I mean, Big Pun. Excuse me. He don't know that when Lord Jamar was part of Brand Nubians, he was indirectly involved in helping Big Pun. So if Black Americans who are foundational have this disdain and hate for people of other ethnic groups, why are Black people buying their music? Why are Black people getting them on? How could somebody like right here, like Jack Harlow, how could he be put on? Or an Eminem, because we put them on, if we have such hate for everybody? Let's continue.
He decided. But since you came in with some people that we loved and respect, shout out.
Ooh, let's go back to it again. Sorry about that, y'all. Let's go back.
To Lord Finesse, Showbiz, Diamond D, rest in peace, Big L, OC.
Let me say shout out to TD for another $1.99 super chat. I mean, we already had the Fat Boys. Don't that count? Yeah, we had the Fat Boy. And I think one of the guys in the Fat Boy was Puerto Rican too. We didn't hate on that guy. You know why? Because he came real. He came real, not fake. I think one of the members of the, tell me if I'm wrong or right, one of the cats in the Fat Boys, I believe he might have been Puerto Rican too. One of them. Two of them I think were Black. And I think one of them, I think might have been Puerto Rican. Or he might have been Black Puerto Rican, one of the two. Somebody in the chat room, give me a reminder about that. Okay, Jonathan Kidd says, Fat Joe didn't write his first single. It was written by King Sung. Thank you for that information. And also, Jonathan Kidd, they say that that Big Pun was writing this stuff. Yalpo, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. We have hate for disrespect. That's what it is. We have hate for disrespect. We got You God in the house. Militube says, you're right. He was half Puerto Rican. Thank you. I knew I was right because I grew up on the Fat Boys and all that kind of stuff. Right, he was I think he was Puerto Rican, Black, something like that. Let's get back to this because I got a few little more things I want to show you before we end today. Here we go.
These are people that gave you the cosign, so we was like, all right, cool.
Gave you the cosign.
But, you know, they say get a person mad and you'll see how they really feel about you.
Now, didn't I say that Fat Joe, as he's saying the N-word 1,000 times, and I showed plenty of video on that today, that you could tell that he's saying it in anger. When Black people use that word towards each other, when we use it as a term of endearment, we're doing it in a playful way, even though I don't like the N-word myself personally. But when we use it towards each other, you know, when guys are just kicking it with each other and chilling, it's in term of endearment. When Fat Joe was using that N-word, it was out of anger. It was about him talking about somebody that he looked down on, that owed him $10 as he pulled out that wad of money. It was about him trying to prove that he was this big gangster dude from New York. It was all vitriol. Let's continue.
You know? So when he was in there talking about broke ass niggas and all of that, like, let's be clear, he wasn't saying niggas as a term of endearment.
Facts.
Like, he was angry in that moment. So to be saying niggas is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
Thank you for the super chat.
It is crazy.
And what I'll also say is, you know, it's kind of tricky to call people a black radical group and all this type of shit. Like, that's almost trying to like bring heat on people.
Boom. Didn't I say that? Because the government was already trying to come up with this black extremist title a few years ago, remember? And so when Fat Joe says that, he's acting like he's an agent. He's acting like he's a Fed. He's acting like he's an agent, y'all. And I'm going to say this again. Anytime the mainstream media picks their favorite black celebrity, entertainer, actor, and make them a spokesperson for the culture, I don't care who they are, you must look at it with a side eye when they're picking the people to be speaking for us. And Fat Joe, if you notice, he's always in the media. He's going to the White House, right? A house that black people, foundational black people built. The very White House that Fat Joe went to in this government was a White House that was built by black slaves, foundational people. Whenever you see these entertainers rubbing elbows with the elite and they're always on TV, they're always the go-to person, beware of them. Beware of them. They are now an agent. They are now becoming, and Fat Joe, in my opinion, is an agent at this point in time and should be canceled.
You see what I'm saying? Because you got politicians and all out here that make laws and against that. They recently passed.
And remember, Fat Joe rubs shoulders with politicians. What did I just say? Fat Joe gets invited to the White House. Fat Joe is hanging out with these politicians. Influence.
That's the law. Something about black radical groups. And now to throw that out there was kind of, yeah, that was kind of crazy. Oh, and also what I wanted to address, right? Before we get to the part where he's talking about me, when he said, whoever these broke niggas is, right? All of this shit about, yo, your niggas is broken. Like, that's the new racism. Okay? Like classism and talk about niggas is broke. Like, the last I checked, Puerto Ricans in the Bronx is broke too.
Facts, facts, facts.
Tell the truth.
Do you all agree with Lord Jamar was saying that what Fat Joe did is another form of racism or some sort of prejudice? What do you think about it? I'm telling you right now that Fat Joe has some racism about him, and I'm going to show you some evidence to that today. This is a hell of a situation, y'all. I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. We got 595. Let's get to 600 people watching tonight. Make sure you hit the likes. The likes should be way up there. We got 595 people watching this evening. Then we need to have a lot of likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification. This is how we get down over here on the Information Man Show. We try to break things down, and I haven't even gotten to some other good stuff for you. And let's hear this piece of receipt from Tariq Nasheed had put this out on his channel not too long ago. And check it out, y'all.
Look at this. This is Cuban Link. Listen to this. And the audio is kind of sped up a little bit. That's why it might sound a little different.
Plenty of times. I just forgot his name of who you were.
So right now, what you're about to see is that this is Fat Joe being exposed for being racist towards black people, having cheesy things to say about black people. Somehow there was somebody in his circle or someone that he knew in the music business too that he thought was Puerto Rican, but the guy was really black. So he starts saying a lot of racial things about black people around somebody who he thought was of his background. And that person exposed Fat Joe for the racist that he is. And Tariq Nasheed had exposed this on his channel. And here we go.
This is Cuban Link. Listen to this. And the audio is kind of sped up a little bit. That's why it might sound a little different.
Plenty of times. I just forgot his name of who you were talking about, but you have brought him up before, you know? Now, you know, the clip in our interview, he said that there was a time where you guys were all in the studio and Joe started to make certain comments about, you know, the Morenos have had their time. Now it's
Morenos is a word for black people, everybody. Just for those of you who may not know what Moreno means, that's a Spanish word for black people, Moreno. And he says that Morenos had their time. You know what Fat Joe has just done? Didn't Fat Joe say to all of us that Puerto Ricans and black people created hip hop? If that was true, why would Joe have to say in the studio that the Morenos or the black people have had their time in hip hop, so it's our time now to take it over? Why would Joe say that, but then tell you and me today? See, I'm breaking this down, y'all.
Tell the truth.
Tell me and you today that hip hop was created by black and brown people. If that was so, he would never have to say that Morenos or black people have had our time. You only say something like that when you're in a genre of music or you're involved in something that's dominated by black people. So now you got to say, hey, they're dominating this. We got to now take it from them. Because if it was this equal building of both black and brown creating the genre, he would never have had to say something like that. You see how Fat Joe and how I have broken it down today, showing Fat Joe's racism and Fat Joe's inconsistent statements. On the one hand, saying that black and browns created it, but behind the scenes when he's around his own people, he's saying, we got to take this shit away from the black people. Listen to this, y'all.
He said that there was a time where you guys were all in the studio and Joe started to make certain comments about, you know, the Morenos have had their time. Now it's our time. And he felt like it was like an underlining racist tone to it, even though I asked him, I was like, could it have just been pro-Spanish? Like, isn't this, you know what I mean? Like, that's possible without you being racist. But man, wrote a clip.
Like you said at the start of this, like a lot of people.
Right here. This guy right here, Fat Joe, thought that he was Puerto Rican. So he felt comfortable. You know how it is, y'all. When we get around our people, we get comfortable to speak our speech. So he got comfortable around this guy, not realizing that this guy is black. And he was saying cheesy things about black people to someone that he thought was not black. Ain't this something, y'all?
Like you said at the start of this, like a lot of people thought that I was Spanish. So, you know, he would be on the movement of, you know, us Latinos got to make it. We got to do this. We got to do that. And I'm listening like, wow. Because at the time, you know, it was a lot of brothers, the music. And he.
Boom. Stop right there. If Fat Joe. Now, why would Fat Joe tell you and me that Puerto Ricans and blacks created the hip hop culture? If that was true, then why would Fat Joe say, we got to do this, we got to come up? Because why? Because Fat Joe knew himself that the hip hop culture was created by black Americans and was dominated primarily by black Americans, and that he was trying to figure out how he could squeeze a little charmin for himself. You see, folks, you see the hypocrisy of Fat Joe?
Was coming in throughout, you know, digging in the crates and all these other brothers that was putting him on. So I guess he felt like now it's time for us to like take over. So I would listen to that and I would take heed to like, okay.
Right.
So yeah, Joe.
Right. Thank you for, hey, I understand that history speak. It's not voodoo, it's hoodoo. Hoodoo is what's practiced over in Haiti. Yeah, the proper name for it is hoodoo, not voodoo. Voodoo was a name that they came up with when they were demonizing Haitian culture in cinema. Right? With the zombies and all that sort of stuff. Let's get back on track right here.
Thought this dude was black and he was saying all this little slick anti-black stuff around him.
Kind of like a little a little racist, but you know, it is what it is. It ain't nothing bad, but it's just like, I guess he was so pro-Latino that he was really pumping that rhetoric at that time. You know, he was trying to take it to another level.
Take it to another
I was
level.
the first one.
Let me play devil's advocate. Okay, so was it racist, or was it just that like he was really proud and trying to put on the other side of it because there wasn't really any prominent, you know what I mean, and that within the culture?
So I ain't gonna downplay. I'm gonna tell you straight up. He was on some like the Moyo's been doing this for years. It's time for us to come in.
Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, if Fat Joe said out of his own mouth that black people or Morenos, the N-words as he really likes to say, have been doing it for years, and he's already admitting to you and me and the world that black people are the ones that are the architect of hip hop culture, and that he was just trying to figure out a way to fit in and figure out a way that him and his people could dominate and take it over from black people, which, by the way, to this very day, they have not taken it over. Name me one prominent Puerto Rican rapper today, mainstream rapper. There is none. Fat Joe just told on himself, y'all. He just sat up there in Math Hoff's podcast and said that people are coming at him for saying that hip hop is black and brown, or they created it. Yet on the one hand, we're finding out with this brother right here behind the scenes, he recognized that we got to do something to get these black folks out of the game because they then had control of it for years.
You know what I'm saying? And that's basically how it was stated. And that's how I heard it. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. It's pro. But at the same time, it was a little bit of shade there, you know, a little bit.
But he got put on by black artists, though.
That's what I was thinking the whole time I'm hearing that. You know?
Boom. Did y'all hear that? Fat Joe was put on by black artists, particularly foundational black American, who put this sucker on. And then he want to come with a disrespect in that barber shop? No. Fat Joe needs to be canceled immediately. Immediately.
Saying to myself, who am I? I'm just.
Fat Joe needs to be canceled immediately, y'all. Y'all understand what I'm saying? He is a infiltrator, a liar. He's been caught in his hypocrisy, y'all. But check this out. The other guy on the video, I'm going to show you something else. This is very interesting stuff, y'all. The other guy on the video, that's Fat Joe.
This is Cuban Link.
Let's go back over here. The other guy on the video that was talking in the beginning, check this 38 second clip of what he had to say. I want y'all to see what he had to say here. This is some crazy stuff right here. Check this out. He reinforces the racism in the way he really feels about black people. Fat Joe. Check it out. Check this out.
I'm taking it. But like I said, I heard him and Macho say stories where now is demeaning and being real racist to black people. Him and Macho.
Wait, what you mean?
The two white guys at the crew is him and Macho.
Okay,
and
but I know, but what is the story though?
Macho was a fucking, he hung out with the Jewish guys, so he was really demeaning when it came to black people. And Joe would join that conversation.
So he's saying that they were talking greasy about black people, and Joe was in them conversations where they're talking greasy about black people.
All right, we got my man, Mr. DJ Music saying, salute, good brother. I knew you would be all over this story. Yeah, I'll be all over this. I haven't gone live on my channel in a minute because I've been rocking on my sports channel, but I'll be rocking this Information Man Show channel out, and I'll be getting back to the Info Media Reacts channel. Mods, if you can drop that other channel, the Info Media Reacts channel. Normally, what I'm doing over here today is what I would normally be doing on the reaction channel, right? But I'm getting this channel back into the algorithms again, and y'all helping me with that today, and I appreciate that, and I clap to you all. Thank you. Kitty G is in the house. Thank you for being here. Everybody's easy. Everybody that's in here, Professor Bay, Power Player Magazine Original, Cuban Link, You God, Cat Power, Cat's in the House, Monster Hunter, Power Players Magazine, Puerto Ricans, not Cuban, look it up. Right. Oh, no, they're not the same. Cubans and Puerto Ricans are two different cultures, y'all. Within Latin culture, there's different, you got Cubans, you got people that are Salvadorian, it's different. People that are there's Colombians, they're not all the same. They may all speak Spanish, but they have different cultures. They even look, let's be honest, within Latin America, even Latin Americans delineate within Latin culture. Right? Latin is really a language, it's not really a people. Let's be honest about that, right? But even these groups, whether you be Mexican, you're Puerto Rican, you're Dominican, all those different groups, they all delineate themselves. But everybody has a problem with Black Americans delineating when all these other ethnic groups, even in South America, they delineate. Even in the continent of Africa, Africans delineate, right? South Africans delineate themselves from Nigerians. Nigerians delineate themselves from Guyanese, right? They all delineate to what their culture is in language. Come on now, culture is what you do. Your ethnic group is what you are. Culture is what you do. Your food, your music, your traditions, your customs. I haven't finished this yet. Let's get back to this, y'all. Let's get back to this. Hearing what he was saying here. This is interesting stuff. Check this out.
He hung out with the Jewish guys. So he was really demeaning when it came to Black people. And Joe would join that conversation,
So he's saying that they were talking greasy about Black people and Joe was in them conversations where they're talking greasy about Black people.
Well, what is the story, though? Can you share the story?
I'm not telling you the story. I'll let them tell the story. They're never going to say it. But it was real demeaning, racial shit.
Gotcha.
But that's within, the camp of the Spanish guys. You know what I'm saying?
So what is he telling you? That Fat Joe would participate with his friends who were also Spanish like him. He would participate in talking cheesy about Black people. You also saw the one guy on here who he thought was Puerto Rican, and he was talking stuff about, we got to take this rap game away from the Black people. You see? And the guys knew that what he was saying was cheesy because he wasn't Puerto Rican. So he heard what he was saying. And here you have an incident where he's hanging out with Jewish people talking cheesy about Black people. This is Fat Joe right here, the one who you keep seeing in the damn media, who you keep seeing on TV, who you keep seeing the mainstream media run to him, to talk to him, who you see hosting the BET Awards or the Hip Hop Awards or some shit like that. Huh? What's wrong with us as Black people supporting this nonsense? And then you got Huff in his damn podcast, sitting back laughing and giggling. That's Girl Shines. Thank you for that super chat.
Thank you.
She says, what steps do we need to take to be done with this guy? What steps we got to take is it's about economics. And the first law of economics is spend your money with your own kind. Don't spend your money with Fat Joe. Don't give Fat Joe a dime of your money. Don't support any concert, any event that he's associated with in which he is the main benefactor of the money. Don't pay him no attention. Don't buy his music. Right now, do you all know, and I said this before, Fat Joe has a brand new album right now. It's not doing well. So I think he's been canceled for quite some time, but he just doesn't know it. And I think part of that is that he's angry at Black people that are not buying his music anymore. So don't buy his CDs. Don't buy his music. Don't listen to his podcast if he's got one. Don't give him any time of day. Don't give him no recognition. That's what I'm talking about. And in court, and when it comes to this guy right here, Math Hoffa, he should also be held accountable for letting this man come into his shop and disrespect Black people in the way that he was able to disrespect Black people. Everything about what he did was a damn shame, y'all, and we let him do it. We let him get away with it. And it's a damn shame that we let this man get away with the stuff that he was doing. I'm looking into the camera and I'm telling you right now, why did we let him get away with this? Why did they let him, or maybe they let him talk about black Americans like that because those in the barbershop have sustained for black Americans, in this case, FBA, ADOS as well. Maybe they have sustained for black foundational people, American descendants of slavery. Maybe that's really what it really boils down to. New York, I'm going to say it again, is a big, giant immigrant city. And maybe the guys in the shop are immigrants themselves, or they have some sort of lineage to immigrants. And so therefore they don't have or feel any connection to us. Therefore, it's real easy for them to talk cheesy about us, or to allow someone to talk cheesy about us and not defend us because they don't feel any connection to us. Do you dig what I'm saying, y'all? Do y'all understand what I'm really saying? The approach that I'm going to you with this. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Hit 7s in the chat room if you're digging and you're understanding where I'm coming from with this perspective. Please let me know in the chat room by putting those 7s. Let's get to the next video. We're almost getting close to the conclusion. I thank you for rocking with us this long today, but I got some other good stuff. You see, the relationship between Puerto Ricans and black people has not been rosy. There's been always strife on the streets and in the prison system. You have some that would say that there is a black and brown coalition, but there has never really been one because there's always been this tension. And it's not tension that I want to see happening. It's just tension that has happened through the years. Let me show you a video of Puerto Ricans and blacks in prison at Rutgers Prison in 1976 and let you listen to a candid conversation that they're having about this very, very same issue.
What we wanted to do is bring together a group of the inmates to discuss some of the prisoner violence, because it is a victimization of one inmate against another. And maybe I can start by asking my man Bullet, what are some of the problems that as a Puerto Rican inmate you find? There's been a lot of static between black and Puerto Rican inmates. What is it caused by, Bullet?
I feel that, blacks and Puerto Ricans don't get along, period, and I feel there's a war between blacks and Puerto Ricans. It's a big conflict between blacks and Puerto Ricans.
He says there's a big conflict between black and Puerto Ricans. This is in New York at Rutgers Island Prison. And this is back in 76. So this whole thing's been going on even before Fat Joe.
They never have got along outside in the streets or inside. I also feel there's a conflict between the policemen and the institution. It's racial. Racialness between the blacks and the COs and the institution, the penal institution.
Because it always turns into a fight. Talking to you, young blood, he's saying there's always static. They don't get along, but sometimes they do get along in the streets. Why is it that when they come here, it turns into a battleground? What is that about?
Well, it's like it's more than one. It's like out in the street, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's doing their thing together. And when you come to jail, being that you're incarcerated, there's a lot of frustration. And being that one must get all this frustration off, so, he picks a fight.
Can everybody hear and really pick up on what's being said in this video? This is 1976. This is Rutgers Island, where they have the prison there. That's in the New York area. Put 7s in the chat room if you've been hearing what has been said so far.
Or he starts a fight, somebody else starts a fight with him.
Is this a power struggle, or is it just that, two races can't get along?
No, it's just that, when you get in here, you're mad because you got busted anyway, right? So, anyway, between blacks and whites, all Puerto Ricans, they never got along from the beginning of time, really. So, in here, just that, in here, you can take it out on.
You hear the brother saying they've never gotten along since the beginning of time. Now, I'm not saying that I like seeing people not get along, but these are just the facts of life in the New York area and in general. And Fat Joe said, and this is why Fat Joe can be racist as he can be. This is why he can be around his people and say cheesy things behind the scenes while setting up in a barbershop with black people talking about black people and none of those black people say a damn thing to him, including Huff, Math Hoffa, the man who now wants to sit back and tell you that he's about unity, but yet he let Fat Joe come in that shop and bring disunity and ratchetness, talking in there about how he is gangster and how somebody owed him $10 and I got a wad of money and I'll kick a sucker's this, all that nonsense he was talking.
Whoever you want, because it be the frustration. Right. Because nobody can stop you but the COs, and the COs never around at the right times.
It's almost like the police out in the street.
Right.
At least that's what the complaint always is of citizens.
Right.
So there you go, everybody. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in the world over there in Rikers Island in the, let's keep it real, in the New York area, right? Out there in New York, the big city, okay? Out there in New York, that's what's going on. I want y'all to understand that. Here go another video that should open up some more eyes. This is 1994 in the prison environment. Check this out.
Puerto Rican flag right there, baby.
See, the back is for the Spanish, the front is for the other people. Now, what happens if a white guy or a black guy comes over here and wants to watch your TV?
Yeah, he can watch it. He can watch it, but
he can't touch it.
You can't touch the TV, though.
Everything goes by rules.
You can't sit on the front row seat. You got to sit in the back.
Yeah.
Doesn't this sound, ladies and gentlemen?
What we wanted to do is bring together.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to say this to y'all. Did you hear what they just said? That if a black person wants to watch the TV, they got to sit in the back. They can't touch it. Doesn't it sound like Jim Crow? What happened to black people back in Jim Crow? We were not allowed to sit in the best seats. They made us sit in the back of the bus. They made us sit in the back of the speed bleachers at the ball game. These Puerto Ricans says if a black person wants to watch, they got to sit in the back. They bet not touch. That sounds like Jim Crow to me. That sounds like white supremacy to me.
Tell the truth.
Sit over there. Basically, this whole area is the Puerto Rican area.
Yeah, the whole back section is all Puerto Ricans, and the front is all blacks. So we sometimes it be like a racial thing, So we, to keep the peace in the house, we just have the Puerto Ricans have their own section, and the blacks have their own section.
Let me say to my brother right there, Point Blank Travel, so happy to see you over here, brother. He says, what's up, information man? Salute, brother. Salute to you and thank you. Make sure that you check out my brother's channel, Point Blank Travel. He has a great channel. I think he talks financial things over there. He talks about traveling. He talks about the various credit cards and various cards that you can get bonuses when it comes to your travel around the world. If you're a person who's into travel, you got a passport and the whole 9 yards. He gets into a lot of different issues, financial issues and travel issues, and he gives you a lot of good pointers and points. So make sure you check out Point Blank Travel. Another sister that's in the house is MZ Kim Bling Bar. Clap to you. Make sure, especially for the ladies out there and for the gentlemen who want to buy some nice jewelry or nice necklaces for your loved ones or ladies, she has a beautiful channel where she does show you her merchandise, necklaces, bracelets, and she does it almost like the shopping network type style, right? So make sure you check out her channel, support her, especially the ladies out there who like beautiful things to wear around the neck, around the arms, all those beautiful things like that. And I see my man Yalpo back in here again. Malcolm, we got to do another interview again, brother, when you come out with another book. He's a book writer. Check out Yalpo, click into him, write his name down, check out his channel because he's a book writer, very intelligent black man. Yalpo is, what did you I think I might have missed what you had just wrote and into this part of my system. And we got my man Earl Owen saying Point Blank Travel piece. Yeah, make sure y'all check them out. We got Big Streaming is trying to create separations. No, I'm not trying to create any separation. I'm just simply explaining what happen. I'm not creating separation. Fat Joe is the one who is creating problems because Fat Joe behind the scenes is a racist. And behind the scenes, he's been exposed on my channel and many other channels as a liar. He has been cheesing behind the scenes, talking about black folks, how he got to get us out of the box of rap music and culture, talking about black people like a dog. He has been exposed, and I have exposed him on this channel today, as well as others have exposed Fat Joe. And I'm telling the damn truth, whether you like it or not. You just probably can't handle, maybe you can't handle truth, and that's part of the problem.
Tell the truth.
All right. Let me show you how far this racism go. How many of you are familiar with DJ Charlie Chase? Now, I want people in the chat room to put 7s in the chat room if you are familiar and know who DJ Charlie Chase is. Damn it, you should know this because this is part of hip-hop history. There he is. DJ Charlie Chase, from what I understand, he is the first Puerto Rican to spin albums, to spin records, to get involved in hip-hop. He's admitted it himself that prior to him getting involved in being a DJ and spinning records, there were no other Puerto Ricans involved. Remember, he was a part of the Cold Crush Brothers. Cold Crush. There is DJ. I have a lot of respect for DJ Charlie Chase because he keeps it real. He said that when he got involved in it, there were no Puerto Rican or Latin DJs in rap at that time. I'm not talking about disco music because DJ Charlie Chase, he came from that era of disco music. Remember I told you, and you guys already know this, at that time, most DJs were DJing what? What was it? Disco music. So a lot of people gravitated towards the rap music as disco was phasing out. Well, DJ Charlie Chase said the first time he heard the music, he fell in love with it and he embraced it. But those around him in his community did not embrace him being in the music, saying, what are you doing with those jungle bunnies? They would call black people in New York, in those communities, they would call us jungle bunnies. Huh? Am I telling the truth or am I not telling the truth?
Tell the truth.
And so DJ Charlie Chase took a lot of slack and heat for joining up with black people in the pursuit of hip hop culture and music. And he is the first with the Cold Crush Brothers right there. Here he is right here with one of the Cold Crush Brothers. DJ Charlie Chase. This is what he looks like today. He's older statesman. But I want y'all to see this video, and it's going to repeat over and over again. Look at how he was treated by his own people in the Puerto Rican community, which he grew up in when he decided to be a part of the hip-hop community as a DJ. Check this out.
And then the Hispanics were telling me, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing playing that Jungle Bunny music, And then the Hispanics were telling me, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing playing that Jungle Bunny music, And then the Hispanics were telling me, what the hell are you doing, man?
You heard it for yourself. DJ Charlie Chase told you that they were looking at him saying, man, what are you doing playing that music? We're getting close to conclusion, everybody. Don't worry. Don't worry. I appreciate you all for coming over and joining me in this today. Let's hear what Huff has to say. Now, after this whole thing broke out, Huff, or Math Hoffa of the podcast in that barbershop, he was doing basically damage control, y'all, because he was catching a lot of heat for it, right? People saying, cancel him. Well, let's hear Huff explain to y'all the situation.
No, Jay Grizz is not. They just trying to put Puerto Ricans against African Americans. It's a lot more than that. It's if you're a West Indian, if like my mom's is from Barbados. I was born here in this country, but I spent some time over there too.
Now I want to say this. This isn't about hating people that are Barbados or people that are Jamaican. This isn't about that. I have no personal hate towards black people that come from other parts of the diaspora of the world. This is about Fat Joe creating an issue in that barbershop, and you, Huff, didn't do anything to shut down the nonsense that he was talking about. that created disunity in your barbershop podcast?
Through 3 years growing up. From almost 9 to 14. And I came up here into a shitstorm of everything that was going on in Brooklyn in the 90s.
I would say this. You say FBA looks down on immigrants. I would say this. I don't look down. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody. But I say I don't look down on immigrants. I look down on people who are disrespectful to me no matter where they come from in the world. But if you happen to be an immigrant that comes from another place and you're disrespectful to me, well, I'm going to have to call you out. Because at the end of the day, y'all don't like hearing this, but this is the truth. Black Americans, we stood in this country and we fought. Our ancestors fought through Jim Crow. We fought through slavery. We fought through segregation. We fought even when black men were being hung on trees like fruit, as Billie Holiday sung about. We fought even when black men fought in every war. Black Americans fought in every war this country has ever had, from the Revolutionary War to World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. And by the way, your Memorial Day that you celebrate, everybody in this chat room that celebrates Memorial Day, guess who created it? Foundational Black Americans. Memorial Day originally was called Flowers Day. It was black people who were newly freed slaves who brought flowers to the graves of military personnel, going all the way back to the damn Civil War. We fought in the Civil War too, Buffalo Soldiers. So black Americans have a reason to have a chip on our shoulder or to feel some kind of way when people come from other parts of the world and they get cheesy with us. Because if it was not for the Civil Rights Movement, the 1965 Voters' Right Act, which made it possible to really push immigration where people could come over here and become citizens, your ass wouldn't be here. We fought in these goddamn wars. Our ancestors. We were the ones, our ancestors were the ones that were walking down the street back in the day when a black man, if you walked down the street and white people were walking, you had to get off the sidewalk and walk on the streets. You couldn't smile. Did you know that black Americans in this country at one point in time, if you were out with your wife or girlfriend, you couldn't kiss her in public or they would do something to you? You couldn't show any affection towards your woman? Only white folks were allowed? Do you know how many black Americans built the railroad system in this country that you enjoy when you going up and down? The third rail was built, the third rail on the train was invented by a black inventor. Your damn icebox, a black inventor here in America. Your hot comb here in America. The elevator, the things that make the elevator work, invented by black Americans here in America. If you like ice cream, invented by black Americans. So black people, we have a lot to be proud of, but when you come at us cheesy, we're going to remind you who fucking foundation you stand on. And that's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, I would love to believe that we all brothers, but I just find it weird. Anytime people seek to disassociate themselves.
See, this is the problem I have with this. I don't have a problem with Math Hoffa because he comes from an immigrant background on both his mother and father's side. I have a problem with the fact that he let Fat Joe sit up there, and Fat Joe spent most of his time in that shop talking about other black people and using the N-word like it was not going out of style. And they laughed with him. They cheered with him. And Math Hoffa didn't do anything to say, look, let's not go there. Math Hoffa, you're going to hear him say how much he got respect for Lord Jamar, but yet he let Fat Joe get in the shop and talk about Lord Jamar like a dog.
So much. Marcus Evans, invite Lord Jamar and Tariq Nasheed to the show.
We got 2 more clips after this before we conclude, y'all, so stick around.
I don't know, bro.
Hit the likes,
what
too.
I've been
Please
seeing
hit the likes.
and everything that's been going on, and that type of energy. I mean, Lord, we never really had no issues. Shout out to Lord Jamar.
Now, this is where I wanted to go here. You see, Math sets up here and says he didn't like the energy that's coming from, I guess, people that are FBA, right? He don't like the energy. But ask yourself, why didn't Math Huff, why didn't he not have problems with the energy that was coming from one Fat Joe? Fat Joe was in your shop using the N-word 1,000 times. Fat Joe was in your shop talking real greasy about Lord Jamar. Fat Joe was in your shop pulling out a wad of money, talking about how he's such gangster, how he'll beat somebody up, talking all this stuff. He brought all sort of negative energy in your barbershop podcast. And you didn't sit up there and say, look, man, Fat Joe, let's chill off of that, man, and let's go into another direction of the conversation because I'm not feeling the energy of what you're talking about. Did he do that? No. But then when he does this address video, he wants to start telling y'all about energy and not liking energy and certain energy and stuff like that. Man, please.
After what I've been seeing and everything that's been going on and that type of energy.
What about the energy that Fat Joe displayed in your podcast, man?
I mean, Lord, we never really had no issues. Shout out to Lord Jamar.
If you never had any issues with Lord Jamar, then why would you let Fat Joe come into your podcast, say what he said about Lord Jamar, called him a loony, called him all sort of things, but a child of God, and then never correct him on what he was saying about Lord? When you say that Lord and you have never had any problems and you say shout out to Lord, but then you let this man, Fat Mouth Joe, come into the barbershop podcast and have full reign to say whatever he wants. What's going on, Professor Bay? We're not going to forget this one, Huff. Right, don't forget it. East B 103, thank you for coming over. Nobody should use the N-word. The word is negative in every way. I agree with that. And this is why in the beginning of this podcast, I said, how about we as black people, how about we start not using it too? How about we come to a certain standard where we say to hell with using the word, even if we say it's a term of endearment? Hell, in my opinion, we could find another word for a term of endearment, as far as I'm concerned.
Tell the truth.
But the point is, at this time, y'all, and I agree with what you're saying, East. The point is that Huff let this man come into his barbershop podcast and run his mouth in a very disrespectful way. And I got to say, it was a damn shame. Here we go. Some more.
I don't know, bro. That's a different type of energy. Like, I'm not all the way a podcaster. I don't know how to, sometimes it be.
This is bullshit by Huff. This man tells you that he's not an all-the-way podcaster. Do you know how many subscribers he has? Go to his channel. This man has over 1 million subscribers on his channel. 1 million subscribers. What's going on, East B? Saying 103, saying great content as always. Thank you very much. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
This man is telling you that he's not a real podcaster. Yet he comes on there every week or every time he turns around, he drops videos. And he's got those same laughing individuals in there that was laughing at what Fat Joe was saying. And he's got all these guys in there laughing and carrying on. Wow. This is crazy, y'all. Wow. He's got over 1 million subs. He's got 1 million subs on his channel. And he's telling me and you that he's new to podcasting. He's never, this is just some new experiment he's been doing. Fool, you got 1 million subscribers on your channel. That means you've been grinding and doing this for a minute. And you've been doing something that you got 1 million subscribers on your channel. And you want to tell us that cockamamie crap. Get out of here.
Tell the truth.
Get out of here. Let me fix something, y'all. He must really think that we are crazy, that we can't see nonsense when we see it. Let's go back.
Should be taking me back, bro. Should be taking me back. I'll be, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how Joe, you done mastered that shit. Nori, y'all niggas have mastered that shit, but.
See, now he's talking about how Nori and Joe have mastered the podcasting. Yet this man's got over 1 million subs on his channel, and he's telling you he doesn't know what to master. If you got 1 million subs on your channel, you have mastered it, brother. You have mastered it because you're doing something that's bringing you a lot of people. Nonsense. Nonsense. Don't even listen to the nonsense. Let's go back to the next video right here. Let's put this video in here. I appreciate you all being here. Let's put this video in here next.
Come close to this culture or make waves in this culture, that they're looked at as culture vultures. And that never really made sense to me, because the people that are usually targeted are either people who had a strong admiration for this.
So he's saying he doesn't understand how somebody could be a culture vulture when they have an aberration for the culture. You can have an aberration for the culture. You could like the culture, and you can also figure out how the way you can manipulate the culture. See, this is why Huff is not that smart on this, because I just showed you video where Fat Joe was in the studio. I just showed you a video where a brother who he thought was Puerto Rican said that when they were in the studio, the brother was black, but he thought he was Puerto Rican. Fat Joe thought he was Puerto Rican. That Fat Joe said, we got to figure out a way how to take this rap game away from black people because they've had it for a long time. And yet he wants to tell you, Huff, that Fat Joe's not a culture vulture because, well, how can he be a culture vulture when he's admired rap music from afar since he was young, that he loves it, that he has passion for it? I just don't see how that could be culture vulturing. And I just played y'all a video in which somebody said that he was with Fat Joe when Fat Joe was talking cheesy about black people, in particular talking about how we've had control over the rap game. He called us Morenos, and how we got to figure out a way to get black people out of the box of rap music. Come on, Huff.
Culture and wanted to be a part of it. Or, you know, people who just grew up.
People who just grew up. You guys
observing.
buying this, man?
You dig what I'm saying?
You guys
people
buying
who
this?
have a love for it naturally.
Right.
And
yeah. So because Fat Joe has a so-called love for it, that negates the fact that behind the scenes, he's figuring out how he can undermine. And that's what FBA and FBA people are against, y'all. We are against these type of individuals like Fat Joe, whose goal is to undermine black people. And that's what he was doing when he was talking to that brother that he thought was Puerto Rican. Undermine. Or when he was hanging out with Jewish people and talking cheesy about black folks. Undermine.
Would never want to discourage that. That's not the goal for me. It's not to discourage that. But calling somebody a culture vulture, and from what I'm hearing, the reason why is they didn't create it, right?
He did not create it, and he admitted that he did not create it when he told that brother that he's looking to get black people out of the box because we've had it forever. But check this out. Let me show you where Huff is coming from. Let me show you what his real mindset is. This one gonna blow you away. This the one I've been waiting to show y'all. Check this out. Listen to his mindset. Now,
I've been your fan since like 2013.
Let me stop this right here. Let me let you know, black Americans, our ancestors were brought over here in shackle slavery. We are not immigrants, meaning that we did not travel over here for a better life. We were kidnapped, snatched, and brought over. And in some cases, there were blacks in Africa, tribes who had intertribal warfare, who also assisted in selling us into slavery. The Portuguese were one of the first to be involved in slavery, which is why you got more black people in Brazil. All right. Outside of Africa, Brazil has the largest number of black people. Only 4% of black people were brought to the United States. The majority of them were brought to where? To Brazil, brought to the Caribbean, because why? The world was hooked on sugar. The Europeans were hooked on sugar, and there was a big sugar trade. So they brought Africans to places we call Jamaica, the West Island, the West Indies, and all these different places. And the Portuguese were involved. The Arabs were involved. Europeans were involved. That Woman King movie that they put out was a misnomer. Those women, those African warrior women were involved in the slave trade. So you had Africans that were involved in the slave trade as well. They were involved because of intertribal warfare. If you're in a war with someone and you capture them, obviously you don't give a damn about them. You'll sell them away for trinkets. So what you're going to hear is Math Hoffa say that if you go back some years ago, all of us are immigrants. Child, please. Child, please. Check this out.
I've been your fan since like 2013, but you should have checked Fat Joe for the anti-FBA. I'll be honest with you. At the time, I didn't even know what the FBA was. And FBA is an ethnic identifier for non-immigrant blacks, not organization. Bro, I kind of get what...
The guy said it plainly to you, but that Math Hoffa sits up there and says, I kind of get what you're saying. No, it was very plain what he said in your chat room, but you didn't want to acknowledge it.
You trying to say, but when you talk about blacks and immigrants, if we all scroll the clock back far enough, we all immigrants, dog.
No, we're not.
I don't know if you realize that. We just rewind a little bit longer.
Wrong.
We all immigrants, dog.
Wrong, Huff. You're goofy. Let me show you why he's goofy, y'all. Let me put this up here. I'm gonna let this play out, and I'm gonna show you why he's goofy.
Last time I checked, civilization started in Africa.
That's true. That's true. But that doesn't mean that you're dumb. You're dumb now, Huff. Civilization started in Africa. But to be an immigrant, that means you migrate from somewhere to go to another place of your free will. Black people that were snatched and stolen from Africa were not given a free will to come over here. They didn't come over here as other immigrants who came over here for a better life with shoes on feet and pants up your on and a jacket on your back. You guys didn't come over here on a slave ship, a cargo ship that had you as cargo and treated you as property. Come on now. By the time y'all got over here, Black Americans had already made it safe for you to walk down the damn streets of New York. Remember, you had gangs of New York, which were the Irish gangs. You had the Italians that came over. All these groups have preyed on black people. They put the drugs in our community. But Huff doesn't know history, because if he knew history, he would realize that, no, your family is an immigrant, Huff. My ancestors are not immigrants. No, you're wrong.
Tripping. I feel like we all unified in our experiences and the things that we got to fight against to make better.
Oh, stop it, Huff. Stop it. Stop it now, man. You're just talking. Let me break some stuff down. Here comes the history lesson. Here comes the information man history lesson for everybody. Check this out. Let's break this down. This is very simple, everybody. Simply put, an immigrant is a person living in a country other than what? Other than their own birth country, other than that of his or her birth. No matter if that person has taken the citizenship of the destination country, served in its military, married a native, or has another statue, he or she will forever be internationally migrant. that is an immigrant, someone who comes over here from another country of another birth, another country of their birth. They come here for a better life and they plant their seed right here in America. That's someone who comes here of their own free will, not someone who was forced, snatched, and not someone that's brought over to be a slave with chains on them and to be sold and to have their families broken up. So you didn't have that experience. Now, I'm not saying that Caribbeans, Jamaicans, West Indies, that when they were over in the Caribbean, that they didn't have slavery, where they were treated poorly by their captors in those places. I'm not saying that Black people in other parts of the diaspora of the world, particularly Caribbeans, did not experience a slave system. I'm simply talking about Black people in America. Because once those folks were able to, once those systems start to dissipate in those countries over a period of time, people start to leave those countries to come here for a better life and to get away. Black people in America, we had nowhere to go. We had no country to run to. We only had this place. We had to stand on our 10 toes deep, our ancestors, that is, to fight here because we had no other place to go to. Africa didn't come looking for us, just like the movie Black Panther. The Africans didn't come look for us. The Africans have never filed a lawsuit against the United States for taking us over here. The Africans have never filed a lawsuit against the Portuguese or the Arabs or prosecute those Africans. Of course, those Africans are not alive today, but they didn't take any wealth from those Africans in places like Nigeria who benefited from the slave trade, who people still live there to this very day. So this whole thing is wrong, what he just said. Let me put something else up here. How Puerto Ricans identify racially on the census. People in Puerto Rico have only been asked their race on the census since 2000, y'all. Since then, they've overwhelmingly marked themselves as white. This is from Pure Research, y'all, if y'all wondering where this comes from. Much more so than Puerto Ricans in the mainland United States. Do hear how it breaks down from 2010. So white alone, 76%, right? So Puerto Ricans in the United States overall, Puerto Ricans that are not in the United States will say 76% of them will say white. 53% of them in the United States will say white. Black alone, only 12% of Puerto Ricans in the United States want to identify themselves as black, 12%. 9%. No, Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, only 12% of them will identify as black. 9% of them in the United States doing at the time of this chart would identify as black, 9%. Okay? So I just wanted to let y'all see that. You can look these things up. Something else I want to bring up to you. Check out this article right here. I want y'all to look this article up right here. It's called Black Perspective, the radicalization. Since Fat Joe wants to keep using that word about the radical. Well, check this out. The radicalization works differently here in Puerto Rico. Do not bring your United States centric ideas about race here. This is the name of the article. But now let's get into the article. I'm only going to read a small portion of this. I don't want to bore anybody, but this is very important. In Puerto Rico, much like in the rest of the Latin America, anti-black racism is embodied in very domineering to the extension by the state and society. So basically, let me just break this down. The state in Puerto Rico, they sanction this stuff. Okay, it's embedded in the culture of their government in Puerto Rico to treat black Puerto Ricans, people that look like me, and those of you in the chat room, treat us poorly, okay? Granted, a notion that we are all mixed works as a strategy to make black people invisible in Puerto Rico, the black Puerto Ricans invisible, and their demand for justice, all while upholding lightness. So in Puerto Rico, black Puerto Ricans are demanding justice, but the Puerto Rican culture and government there wants to uphold lightness. What does Fat Joe look like? What does Fat Joe look like, y'all? Doesn't Fat Joe come with that sort of complexion, that lightness that I'm talking about here? Doesn't Fat Joe kind of come with that look? Now check this out. Lightness of white skin and witnesses a unmarked norm in a universal social category. The party line goes something like this. Puerto Ricans are all mixed, i.e. light skin, real black composure, and tiny fractions of the population. They were never and are never treated violently like in the United States. This line attempt to subsume within the rubbish of racial mixture. Anti-black racism exists in Puerto Rico, y'all. The invisibility of Puerto Ricans or black population in statistics and policies confirm the myth of racial equality. There is no racial equality in Puerto Rico, okay? For instance, though the United States Census, with its stark black-white racial categories, offers Puerto Ricans less racial options than are commonly used on in their country, we must remember that these multi-categories work in the favor of lighter people away from the blackness. It is true that in Puerto Rico, or Puerto Rican people perceive racial belonging on a spectrum, but that spectrum still works within a white-black phenotype, binary. How white versus how black look. You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm telling you is that when Huff gets on his podcast and talks about he's about unity and what have you, nobody wants to deal with the fact that black Latinos, black people that live in South America, live in Puerto Rico and these countries, they get treated like crap by the white Puerto Ricans. Let me give you some more stuff here. Check this out. Even Latins, Afro descendants in Latin America countries live in a stark unequal condition. Okay? Y'all hear what I'm saying? Unequal condition that impacts health and well-being. Okay? Studies have shown this. Okay? For African descendants includes higher rates of maternal mortality and lack of access to education, jobs, equal access to housing, basic services such as safe water and sanitation, y'all. Black Latinos are treated poorly in South America. And check this out right here. I wanted to put this up too. Check this out. Dominicans, how are Dominicans that live in Puerto Rico, black Dominicans are treated? In Puerto Rico, Dominicans often experience intense stigmatization, stereotyping, prejudice, discrimination, okay? Exclusion to which all people of African origins are subject to in that country, y'all. This is why Fat Joe and those like him can be disrespectful, can get on a podcast and say the N-word, talking about black people, show no reverence, can be in a music studio or be somewhere with someone that he thinks is Puerto Rican and talk cheesy about black people. And this is why Fat Joe is catching the vapors. He's catching the heat that he's catching right now, y'all.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Everybody, if you've enjoyed my program today, if you've gotten something out of the program today, please hit the likes. Please share this in all your social media. This is the Information Man Show. I usually go live on Sundays, and we'll be getting back on the saddle on this channel. I appreciate you all. I want to give you a clap. Thank you for watching, for being a part of this program today. I thank you. It's a damn shame how those black folks in that shop let him sit up there and disrespect black people in the way that he did. It's a damn shame. See how these people are laughing? Well, guess what? They were laughing in that barbershop just like those people were laughing right here. They were laughing because they were entertained by the likes of Fat Joe. It makes no damn sense. I appreciate you all for coming over and joining me today. Let me also say to everybody in the chat room, we got Lovey. Don't forget to unsubscribe from the Math Huff after this show. Thank you. Yalpo says, good show today, info. Thank you. Sugar Love says, great show. Thank you. Few Flex says, Chris Rock. Let me see what you said, sir. Let me see here. He says, Chris Rock on Joe new album praising FBA and saying free Black Americans created hip hop. I hear what you're saying, but Fat Joe is doing another thing, though. You see what he said on that podcast, on the Huff podcast now. Look like Joe Buttons with streetwear. Woo, let me see what the sister right here is saying right here. I appreciate you coming over. She says, oh man, people would be surprised to find out how many of these black celebrities don't have origins here, but tell us how to respond to racism. I would say this. There are a lot of people in Hollywood, sister, who are not Black American. Most of your black entertainers are from what? They're from Great Britain. Every time you see them get interviewed, they are speaking with a British accent. I'm very aware of that. A lot of Black American actors are not getting certain jobs and roles. Maybe because in Hollywood, they can pay people that are foreigners more money. They can pay them less money, right? But you do have quite a bit of, and I'm not saying that these British-born actors, or even the ones that come from the Caribbean, I'm not saying that they're not talented, that they can't act. I'm just simply saying that what you are saying is a no-brainer, sister. I mean, tell me something that, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Most of the actors that we see in Hollywood now that are black, a lot of times when they're acting, you don't know that they're British until you see them on an interview and you hear the British accent. And I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on any of them. But I also wonder, how does it impact the Black American actor in terms of getting jobs? When the British-speaking actors, they can hire them and they can pay them less. I mean, we got the Denzel Washingtons, we got the Samuel Jackson, but they're totally different. I mean, they're in a stratosphere by themselves, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of black entertainers in Hollywood and out of Hollywood that have lineage elsewhere. I'm not against anybody who has lineage where they come from. I'm not against that. My only problem, my only issue is when someone of another background starts talking smack about me. Just like we should not be belittling people in the diaspora of the world who are not talking nasty about us. We shouldn't be talking nasty about them if they've done nothing to us. But if you start saying stuff about us, well, like they always say, don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Tell the truth.
Okay?
Information is power.
Everybody in the chat room, thank you for being here. We are not genetic Africans. We gaslighting. They want to continue to exploit FBA history and policies that were intended for FBA. Well, actually, it's true. Most of the policies in this country, the Civil Rights Act, all of that was originally a way to remedy what was happening to Black Americans. But as the country evolved, other people have benefited from these laws and what have you. And I know that. My only issue, once again, I don't care about where people come from. I'm more concerned about, like I said, don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. Don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. It's just that simple as that. So everybody, I'm going to get ready to get on out of here. I appreciate you all coming over and being a part of this podcast today. This was great. This was fantastic. Everybody, I want to say peace to you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
More than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house, Negro, and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate.
Thank you for coming over and watching the channel today.
Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house, Negro. In those days, he was called a house nigger.
Peace.
And that's what we call him today because we still got
You've been
some
listening
house
to the
niggas
Information
running
Man
around
show,
here.
y'all.
This modern house Negro, what was his master? He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master. And then brag about, I'm the only Negro out here. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You nothing but a house Negro. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America?
Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
subscribe, hit the bell and notification, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Tell the truth. You've been hit by Truth Media. Tell the Truth Media. Yeah.